Rank 1. Slave. Your day begins before the sun even dares to rise over the hills of Rome. You wake up on a cold stone floor, wrapped in a single threadbare tunic that smells of damp wool and the sweat of 20 other people crammed into the same windowless basement. You are not a citizen. You are not a person. You are a piece of property, a talking tool owned completely by a master who can decide to remove you today just because he woke up in a foul mood. Your duties depend entirely on where you were sold, but let us say you work in the grand villa of a wealthy senator. Your hands are blistered from scrubbing marble floors with harsh lye, your back aches from carrying heavy amphorae of wine up 3 flights of stairs, and your ears ring from the constant threats of the villa overseer who carries a leather whip. The authority over you is absolute, from the master himself down to the lowest free servant who looks at you with utter disgust. Your biggest challenge is surviving until sunset without making a single mistake. If an expensive glass vase slips from your slick hands, you will not just be yelled at, you will be stripped and severely punished until the floor bears the marks of your failure. Your family life is non-existent because the law does not recognize slave marriages. The woman you love is just another piece of property, and if the master decides to sell her or her children to a plantation in Sicily tomorrow, you can do nothing but watch them get dragged away in chains while you continue to sweep the floors. Community for you means whispering in the dark with fellow slaves, sharing rumors of rebellions that always end in thousands of public displays along the Appian Way. You live in a constant state of anxiety, knowing that if any slave in the household harms the master, Roman law dictates that every single slave under that roof must face the ultimate penalty, regardless of innocence. You swallow your pride, look down at the dirt, and pray to whatever gods are listening that today is not the day you get sent to the sulfur mines where the toxic air rots your lungs within months. But what if you manage to buy your way out of the chains, or your master grants you liberty in his will? Rank 2. Freedman. Though the iron collar is off your neck, the invisible scars of your past still dictate every breath you take. You have stepped up the social ladder, but you quickly realize that the freeborn citizens of Rome look down on you like dirt stuck to their sandals. Your main duties are to build a business, usually as a baker, a cobbler, or a small-time merchant in the bustling markets, but your freedom comes with major strings attached. You are bound by the legal code of Patronus, meaning your former master is now your patron. You must visit his house every single morning to pay your respects, perform favors for him whenever he demands, and even give him a portion of your business earnings. The authority over you is a mix of the city magistrates who watch you like a hawk for any sign of disrespect, and your patron, who can drag you back to court if he thinks you are ungrateful. Your primary challenge is the crushing social stigma. You can acquire wealth, you can wear a toga, but you can never hold public office, and you can never join the higher social orders. Your family life is a fragile victory because your children are born completely free, which gives you hope, but your household is always overshadowed by the fear of financial ruin. If your business fails, you cannot rely on state welfare, and you might find yourself slipping back into debt slavery. Your community is the crowded neighborhood of fellow freedmen who gather in local burial clubs, pooling their meager coins together just to ensure that when they pass away, they receive a decent memorial instead of being thrown into a mass pit with the dogs. You walk through the Subura district, dodging buckets of waste thrown from windows, constantly working yourself to the bone just to prove you are human. If you are born free but without a drop of noble blood, you occupy the next tier of this brutal pyramid. Rank 3. Plebeian. You are the backbone of the empire, yet you are treated like an afterthought by the elites who rule it. You wake up in a cramped wooden room on the 4th floor of a decaying apartment building called an insula. The air is thick with smoke because there are no chimneys, and the walls are so thin you can hear your neighbors struggling through the latest urban plague. Your daily duties involve finding whatever work you can, whether it is sweating as a day laborer at the docks of Ostia, carving stone for a new imperial monument, or selling cheap vegetables in a market stall. The authorities over you are the arrogant urban cohorts who patrol the streets with heavy clubs, ready to deal with any poor citizen who causes trouble, and the politicians who only care about you when they need your vote in the public assemblies. Your greatest challenge is simply staying alive and fed. Fire is a constant threat, and if your wooden apartment catches fire in the middle of the night, there are no fire escapes, and you will lose your life before you can reach the street. You rely heavily on the grain dole, a free monthly ration from the emperor, and if that shipment from Egypt is late, your children will starve. Your family life is defined by cramped quarters and high infant mortality, where half of your children fail to survive past their 5th birthday and you bury them in cheap linen sheets. Your community is the tavern life, drinking sour wine with other laborers, gambling with dice, and shouting your lungs out at the chariot races in the Circus Maximus, which is the only place where you feel like your voice actually matters in this vast empire. But some plebeians look for a different escape from poverty, choosing to sign their life away to the state. Rank 4, Soldier. Your life belongs to the legions for the next 25 years of your existence. You are no longer just a citizen, you are a machine of war, trained to march 20 miles a day, carrying 60 pounds of armor, tools, and camp equipment. Your duties are grueling, involving digging trenches, building massive wooden fortresses in the freezing rain of Britannia, and standing guard for hours on the edge of the civilized world. The authority over you is absolute and terrifying, embodied by the centurion who carries a vine staff that he will use for the slightest hesitation, and the legate who can order a strict internal punishment, selecting a portion of your unit for elimination if the legion shows cowardice. Your challenges are immense, ranging from the biting cold of the Germanic frontiers to the constant threat of a weapon piercing your defenses during an ambush in the deep woods. Your family life is officially non-existent because legionaries are legally banned from marrying while in service. However, the reality is that you likely have a common-law wife and children living in the squalid mud brick villages that spring up just outside the fort walls, and you spend your meager pay trying to keep them fed while knowing you could be ordered to march across the continent tomorrow. Your community is your contubernum, the group of 8 men who share your tent, cook with you, and shield you in the battle formation. You live in a tight-knit brotherhood of conflict, where you watch your friends fall to opposing forces, surviving on stale bread and vinegary wine, driven forward only by the promise of a plot of land and a lump sum of gold if you can somehow manage to survive until your retirement day. For those who possess significant wealth but lack ancient aristocratic lineage, a different path opens up. Rank 5, Equestrian. You have entered the upper echelons of Roman society, where life becomes a high-stakes game of money, power, and prestige. You are part of the knightly class, and to maintain this rank, you must prove you own property worth at least 400,000 sesterces. Your duties are largely administrative and financial, serving as tax collectors, military tribunes, judges, or procurators governing smaller provinces like Judea. The authorities over you are the supreme senators, who look down on you as mere businessmen, and the emperor himself, whose shifting moods can determine whether you prosper or face ruin. Your biggest challenge is navigating the treacherous waters of Roman politics and economics. One bad business investment or a sudden shift in imperial favor can wipe out your wealth, dropping you back into the lower classes, or worse, getting your name placed on a restriction list where you are declared an enemy of the state, so the government can seize your vast estates. Your family life is sophisticated and luxurious, living in a spacious townhouse with an inner courtyard where your children are educated by expensive Greek tutors, and your marriage is a strategic alliance designed to merge wealth and expand your business networks. Your community consists of other ambitious businessmen and political operators, spending your evenings attending lavish dinner parties where you eat exotic foods like dormice glazed in honey, while discussing trade routes, grain prices, and which general is likely to launch the next internal conflict. You enjoy real power, but you are always aware that you are just one step away from the ultimate ruling elite, a boundary that is incredibly difficult to cross without making dangerous opponents. Above you sit the old bloodlines, the families who claim to have ruled Rome since the founding of the city. Rank 6, Patrician and Senator. You are at the absolute peak of social prestige, carrying a name that commands instant respect across the entire Mediterranean world. Your duties are monumental, including debating imperial laws in the historic Curia, serving as high priests in the grand temples, and commanding massive armies as legates, or governing vast, wealthy provinces like Asia or Africa. The authority over you is theoretically the Senate itself, but in reality it is the sole will of the emperor, who watches you with intense suspicion because your noble bloodline makes you a potential rival for his throne. Your challenges are lethal, defined by constant political backstabbing, whispered conspiracies, and the ever-present threat of serious charges. If you speak too loudly against a paranoid ruler, an officer will arrive at your door before morning with an imperial order commanding your immediate end. Your family life is entirely transactional, where your daughters are pawns used in political marriages to secure alliances with other powerful factions, often divorced and remarried multiple times to suit your changing career goals. Your household is an empire in miniature, populated by hundreds of slaves who cater to your every whim, yet you live with the underlying anxiety that your wealth and status make you a prime target for anyone looking to gain favor with the court. Your community is the elite circle of aristocrats who walk the forum wearing tunics with broad purple stripes, constantly playing a superficial game of compliments and smiles while secretly plotting each other's downfall. You possess immense luxury and historical legacy, but you sleep with security close at hand, knowing that the higher you rise, the harder you fall. At the very apex of this entire world stands a single person who holds the fate of millions in his hands. Rank 7, Emperor. You are the living embodiment of Rome, an absolute autocrat whose words are law and whose smile can raise a man to ultimate wealth or whose frown can wipe out an entire lineage. Your duties are overwhelming, requiring you to manage the vast bureaucracy of the state, judge high-profile legal cases, placate the restless urban masses with bread and games, and maintain the absolute loyalty of the military legions stationed on distant borders. The authority over you does not exist on Earth, but you are bound by the terrifying practical reality that your power lasts only as long as the army and the Praetorian Guard support you. Your challenges are unparalleled and deeply psychological. You are consumed by an agonizing, suffocating paranoia because you know that almost everyone who smiles at you is lying, and your closest friends, your generals, and even your own family members are secretly calculating how to replace you. Your food must be checked by a servant before every single bite to ensure safety, and you cannot walk through your own palace without heavily armed guards clearing the corridors before you. Your family life is a toxic wasteland of ambition and betrayal, where your close associates might be plotting your downfall so their chosen successor can take the throne, and your own children look at you not with love, but as an obstacle blocking their path to supreme power. Your community is entirely gone because you have no equals, standing completely alone at the top of the world, surrounded by sycophants who flatter your every word, while you look out over a vast empire of laborers, soldiers, and nobles, fully aware that the historical average reign of an emperor ends not with a peaceful passing in bed, but with sudden, forced removal in the dark.